This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, we now bring you a dialogue on Indo-Japan relations. The participants are Professor H.S. Prabhakar, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and Jyoti Malhotra, Senior Journalist.
We're talking today about the burgeoning India-Japan relationship, especially in the context of the visit of the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to Delhi over the weekend, where he was the chief guest at India's Republic Day celebrations and also participated in a summit with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. In your view, Professor, what are the main takeaways from this visit?
Prime Minister Abe's visit overseas in the last 1 year happens only at the weekends.
Why is that?
Because whenever the parliament is in session and there are many pressing issues.
When the Japanese parliament is in session?
Yes, Japanese parliament.
Which is called the Diet.
National Diet. His presence there is very, very important. Even national secrecy bill is pending there. And a new bill for introduction of enhanced tax rate 5 to 8% from April 1 is pending there.
So we should not be surprised that he came to Delhi for such a short time.
Yes, I think, just a day before he was in Davos talking about Japan's return to world economy and international scene, etc. And next day he went, and it was Friday that the parliament came into a session for 150 days here in Avta. And very first day there was pressing time. So and still late evening he started and he was here on Saturday. Upon arrival, he completed most of his agenda.
Right. I think Saturday and Sunday, and he was here on Sunday where he attended the Republic Day celebrations, of course. But from your point of view, what is the most important or the most significant achievement from this visit?
If we talk only exclusively of the present visit, I think few agreements, especially 8 agreements that we have signed in between, are very important. Number one, to promote tourism between the two countries. And then also agreement for Japanese extension of $2 extra billion for the phase 3 of Delhi Metro, which is actually $2 billion.
Okay.
I think that's a great thing because right now Japanese attention is caught in India for various metro rail projects and also introduction of the bullet train, Shinkansen called these projects. It is diversified. Earlier it was only Delhi based. Now it's going elsewhere also.
So this bullet train, the famous Shinkansen bullet train, is going to come to India?
Yes. I think a feasibility study is just done a few days before Prime Minister's arrival. The first segment will be Mumbai to Ahmedabad, which I think by 2015 it will, not the trains taking off, but the work will start.
I see.
By 2020 that should be in place, and taking off from there, they are also thinking of Amritsar, New Delhi, Patna, then Haldia to Howrah, Bangalore to Chennai, and then some more.
But that sounds incredible, absolutely.
Really, I think the face of Indian development or Indian economy and our partnership with Japan will change, especially the extent of the technological excellence they have in that. That's very important.
So why is Japan doing this?
Because they consider India as one of the formidable partners for future, and presently they are building up the bilateral relations on a very firm footing.
Clearly, this is one of the most interesting relationships of the new century.
Yes, we actually, this visit is also to have, since 2007, we have Prime Ministerial bilateral summit taking place alternately in New Delhi and Tokyo. This time, New Delhi is the venue. Last time, I think in May, Prime Minister visited there.
I'm going to interrupt you, Professor, but
please.
Tell me, why is Japan putting this kind of money into Indian infrastructure?
They are technology surplus, capital surplus. They are looking for good places to invest for future better returns. They had put most of their eggs in the Chinese basket in the last 10 plus 20 years or so. They reaped a good deal of benefits out of it. Now that they have some problems with China, especially island related in East China Sea, Senkaku Islands, this was April 2012, this issue flared up all of a sudden. And due to that, Japanese are gradually withdrawing from China.
Just explain a little bit. The Senkaku Islands, or what the Chinese call the Diaoyu Islands, are a bone of contention between Japan and China.
Yes.
China believes that it has control and authority and ownership over the islands, and the Japanese feel that they have control and authority and ownership.
Actually, Japanese are controlling right now. It is Okinawa Island, where in the southern western part a township called Ishigaki that has the administrative control on Senkaku Island. And in 1969, United Nations conducted a survey and it said the island and surroundings may have oil and gas reserves. So Japanese got interest in that. But 1972 meeting between Showenla and Prime Minister Tanaka of Japan then, Showenla made it clear that if there is no oil reserve, if there is no gas reserve, we are not going to make an issue of it. It is not certain even now whether or not there is oil reserve. But the problem is because Japanese government nationalized the Senkaku Island.
To come back to the India-Japan story, Are you saying that the Japanese are withdrawing gradually from the Chinese, although they have huge investments in China?
Right.
How much investment do they have in China?
I think they had something like $200 billion.
$200 billion?
Yes.
And their investment in India is $13 billion.
13 to $14 billion.
So they are gradually withdrawing, investing in China, and they're coming into India.
We are thinking that they are coming to India. We think next year they are coming to India with big projects. It's not happening. So actually, if we look at the scale of Japanese investment in Southeast Asia, for example, from last January to December, it is something like $12 billion. Whereas in India, Japanese total investment from 2000 to 2013 is just $14 billion.
Okay, so are we saying that there is a lot of hype in the media?
There is a second way of Japanese investment in Southeast Asia, to which even China is now responding, granting huge projects to Southeast Asia. I think that region is far more dynamic in terms of growth compared to this region, that's India and
South Asia.
South Asia.
So why is then, if you feel that Southeast Asia is much more dynamic, then why is Japan investing so heavily in India?
Because they're fairly distributing their Asian investments. They feel in Southeast Asia now a little later it will be to the brim. Similarly in China also. I think with Olympics over in China 2008, I think Japanese started looking elsewhere. And moreover, in the last 20 years, India is also presenting a growth story. And moreover, consistent growth rate of 5%, 5.5%, up to 7.5% reaching. I think
although now
quite
it's
attractive.
Fallen. That growth
5.5%. I think this is also an attraction. Moreover, the size of the country, the market opportunity it provides for the Japanese goods, provided they produce here, that will be at a lower cost. Then pricing would be low. I think in India, even now, though trade, it's a sorry state, though we are saying increasing figures, say $18.52 billion.
That's nothing at all.
It is nothing compared to any other Indian.
Even Sino-Indian trade
the reason is
$65 billion.
Yeah, but I have my own worries even if trade increases with Japan, because our imports are far more than our exports.
To Japan?
Yes. Our export is just about $6.5 billion.
And that's primarily?
So if total trade is $18 billion, count the deficit
so what is
that
it
India
that we
has.
import primarily from Japan?
Electrical machineries and other capital goods are the major things.
And what do we export primarily?
Iron ore, shrimps, some spices,
and
gems and jewelry.
There was a problem with the shrimp export. But there was a problem with the shrimp export.
I think now it is getting clear.
Now, are you saying then that the visit of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was really to look at India as a possible partner, or has he already come to the conclusion?
We already call ourselves partners, partners in progress. We are also global partners to deal with many other issues.
Would you agree with that description?
Yes, I think eventually we will become worthy partners with them.
Worthy partners for Japan?
Yes.
Okay.
Because opportunities that India presents, like to any other country, even to Japan, only Japanese are a bit slow in reacting to Indian opportunities. But gradually it will pick up.
From what you're saying, they sound like a cautious people.
Only thing is that they have their own sorry story and experience in India in dealing with labor aspects.
Okay.
They are calling for labor reforms. They are also calling for tax reforms. So, and also land acquisition is another problem. They don't mind bringing in some of the small and medium industries which have been a backbone of Japanese quality maintenance of the products. But only if they can, we should take part in benefiting from the Japanese industrial hollowing from there. If we can house it here, certainly cost of production could be controlled in India, and we could be also a place from where Japanese can export overseas.
So what do we need to do for that?
We need to reform greatly.
Labor?
I think if we are stuck somewhere midway in our development, it is our own sad story. Keys are with us to reform. We should hurry up our reforms in financial sector, banking sector, labor sector, land reforms. There are quite a few things that India has to address itself, that we are a bit slow in that. I mean, once we bring our country to a level, Japanese would be more happy to better partner our.
I want to also ask you, there are reports that the Japanese have been invited by the Indian government to invest in the Northeast. Do you think that's an interesting initiative, isn't it?
Interesting initiative, but see, you don't have any port nearby. Even if they have some manufacturing units there to export,
but I think with India,
it's only Calcutta.
It's Calcutta, and if with India moving into or interested in moving into Myanmar, they could perhaps use the ports, whether it's Dawei or whether they could use some other ports.
Relatively, they are finding Chennai, especially Tamil Nadu government, a better partner with them because they are very good hosts that way for Japanese manufacturing plants. Already that they have plenty there. I think half the Japanese companies located in India are in Tamil Nadu.
I see.
Are in Tamil Nadu.
But on the Northeast question, Professor, do you think it's a signal to China? We talk a lot about how when India got a loan or wanted a loan from the Asian Development Bank some years ago, the Chinese objected. This loan was for Arunachal Pradesh, I'd like to remind you.
I think few projects must take off in Northeast. Otherwise, I think they are finding relative benefits elsewhere and they are concentrating in southern sector.
So would you say that it's a signal? Would you say that it was a signal to allow the Japanese, or to invite the Japanese to invest in the Northeast?
Yeah, we have many other zones other than Northeast itself within India. I think we should allow where Japanese feel comfortable in their investment because they also look to returns from their investment.
Okay. But was this a strategic signal to China?
We think so. We want to call it so and we talk about that.
But do you agree with that?
Well, partly yes, partly no.
Why not?
See, where is the reason for India to provoke China further? We should buy peace with at least some around. And we don't have baggage with Japanese as China has Japanese.
Japan.
So relatively we are that way better placed with the Japanese. I think we should try to make good of this aspect rather than simply blame gaming.
You're saying that India has to learn if we want to become a bigger power, a stronger power, perhaps a regional power. We have to make friends with all our neighbors.
Both from medium and long-term perspective, it is better that such already advanced country, though second or third internationally, courting Japan is a very good proposition from our side and we are just doing it.
But if India is courting Japan and China have some problems, especially over Shinzo Abe visit to the Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo, do you think that India should get involved with that?
No, Japanese want really India to side with them so that they can send a good signal out. But India is so far not saying any comment on Yasukuni Shrine's visit by.
Okay, just to put this into context, the Yasukuni Shrine, of course, is a 19th century shrine in Tokyo, a Shinto shrine. And one of the reasons for the controversy is that it has enshrined several war criminals within
250,000 people plus 14 A-class war criminals.
From World War II, yes. And also the Chinese allege these people had participated in the killing of several Chinese people in China, including in the Nanjing massacre. Now, the visit of Shinzo Abe to the Yasukuni Shrine has been heavily criticized by the Chinese and by several other countries in the world. Do you think that India should comment on this or should India stay away?
I think it is Indian finest diplomatic part to be appreciated that they are not commenting either on Japanese-Chinese Senkaku issue, related issue or Prime Minister and subsequently his cabinet members' visit to Yasukuni Shrine. I think we are maintaining our fine line here in balance. I think only it is Japanese expectation, since India is also interested, say, around Vietnam and in East Asian region, we should support the Japanese cause there. I think joint statements or comments or criticism on these issues we have.
Professor Prabhakar, thank you.
You were listening to a dialogue on Indo-Japan relations. The participants were Professor H.S. Prabhakar, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and Jyoti Malhotra, Senior Journalist. It came to you in the program News Analysis, produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.